my extended family at Qatar Foundation, I came with a set of very different things to say for today. But stayed up last night watching videos and clips of the senseless murder of Shireen Abu Akleh in the West Bank. And I want to talk about what that means for me and what that means for us. How do we learn to hope in a cynical world? And how do we learn to keep that hope intact? I come from a country where we grew up almost expecting violence and injustice, growing used to it. As I turned 18, I remember staying up all night, watching the news of two boys about my age being beaten with sticks and bricks till they died as the police stood on watching. And then about 140 students shot to death in a terrorist attack in a school, and their only crime being that they came to learn. And so as I turned 18, I felt like I didn't have a choice. Injustice has a very strange way of seeping into our bones and becoming routine till it no longer seems extraordinary. And so as I turned 18, I became a teacher to students from off the street because I felt like I didn't have a choice. It was a necessity because we could be next if we didn't change the mindsets of another generation. Now, this is the first stage of hope, and it is not driven by some kind of idealism or a grand vision. It is just driven by necessity, the urge for survival, the kind of hope that Qatar's forefathers 100 years ago may have felt when they stepped on their dhows to go hunting for pearls, not expecting a treasure at the bottom of the ocean, but just expecting to have enough to feed their families and survive. And so when I became a teacher for these children, I learned what it meant to really care and to teach young children who were fighting for survival themselves, begging and being on the street all night before being exhausted and coming to learn to school in the next morning. And it was at this point that I arrived on the shores of Qatar as a student at Georgetown University. And I was still nostalgic for my first school back home when I heard Her Highness Sheikh Hamada bint Nasser commit to reaching 10 million out-of-school children in the next couple of years. And I thought it was an outrageous goal. But by the time I graduated, I knew that it was not only possible, but we could step in to match and exceed that goal as well. And that, my friends, is the second stage of hope. The kind of hope where you begin to believe that it is quite possible to overturn the trajectories of entire nations, to start movements that spread like wildfire around countries. And as I went back to Pakistan, I began to travel all around the country, listening to those who hadn't been listened to before, talking to those who hadn't been talked to before, and then finding out that in the same country where half of the children cannot even read a sentence, half of the population owns a smartphone, 98% of the population regularly watches television. That's 120 million people, 50 times the size of Qatar, who have access to smartphone technology. And so that's how Taleemabad was born, a name that means education city in Urdu. And now Taleemabad has taken the entire country by storm. It's regularly broadcast on national television. It has become the Sesame Street of Pakistan. 8.5 million children watch it every week. And then we've got a mobile app and a series of other technologies that are being used by 1.5 million children all across Pakistan. And the scale of this is so huge that we now hear the most improbable stories from all around the country, including the use of Taleemabad in a cancer hospital, where terminally ill children who are dangling between life and death use Taleemabad to know the one thing they know how to do best, to just keep on learning despite whatever is coming their way. Taleemabad is no longer just in the digital realm anymore. It has also found a home in the physical world, inspiring a movement of entrepreneurs, young people all around Pakistan to set up world-class places of learning in every neighborhood in the country. Here's a heat map. Shows the red dot. Each red dot represents a village, a locality, a commune, a place where we have students of Taleemabad. And as you can see, the red dots and the storm is swept all across Pakistan, but we're also now beginning to see the first batch emerge from India and in Kabul in Afghanistan. We're now recording usage from across 50 other countries in the world. This has landed us international recognition, prizes from the leaders of the world, and the coveted WISE Award for Innovation in Education. But it's not recognition. It's not recognition that we crave. It is turning the world around on its head that gets us going. That brings me to the third kind of hope, the most potent one, the most powerful one, the one that we feel now in Talimabad. The inevitable belief that the march towards progress is inevitable, that we will get there, that it is quite possible in our lifetimes to live and see the day where it doesn't matter if you're in Jerusalem or Jamaica or Jampur, it doesn't matter which family you come from or what background you have, that you will have access to world-class education and you will have equal opportunity. And that's the kind of hope, the third most powerful kind of hope that I also find myself nurturing every single time I'm back in Education City, face to face with some of the most brightest minds that I've come across in my life. And it is a belief that we are 10,000 in number now. There is nothing holding us back. We come from all corners of the globe, and if we were to act together, that we can change the way the world operates. There is no reason not to believe it. There's no place on earth in which a combination of this sort is possible. This is a magical place. I would know it. I met my wife here at Qatar Foundation, who continues to be my biggest source of inspiration, and somebody who I know will inevitably change the way we look at and treat migrant workers around the globe in the future. So, what do we do with this special DNA that we have? Whether it is Shireen Abu Akleh's murder that infuriates you, or whether it is some other injustice, the denial of opportunity to someone because they come from a different background, I want you to nurture that hope, no matter how big or small it is, no matter what stage you find yourself at. And for the leadership at Qatar Foundation, for Her Highness, for Her Excellency, to fund and support these dreams. We looked at you when we were looking to bring about change in the world, and it's only natural that we look at you now for support as we take these movements across the globe. And so before I wrap up, I want to go back to the start, where I told you about the injustice and intolerance in Pakistan. Now, we regularly reach millions of students and hear back from our classrooms all across Pakistan. Religion is a very sensitive topic in Pakistan, something people fight over and often kill over. And this video got sent to me from one of our classrooms in one part of Pakistan, where children are learning about other religions for the very first time in their lives. You will see how awkward they are, thinking at first that America is a religion, and then thinking that the Chinese worship dragons. And then note how their teacher gently nudges them in the right direction. This is where you become just or unjust, tolerant or intolerant. And we're proud of the fact that we've been able to do this, not just in one classroom, but for millions of students all across Pakistan. This one brought a tear to my eye. And I have little doubt that as I will reach my deathbed and look back at this entire journey of service and fighting for these students, that I will still look at this very, very fondly, even after all of those years. And so I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And thank you so much for having me here.
Religion के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. अच्छा, can you please me your religion? Tell me your religion. Islam. Okay, Islam. Yes, can you please tell me your religion? Islam, your religion is Islam. And what's your religion? Islam. What's your religion? Christian. Okay, Christian, yes. Christian. Okay, what's your religion, Mahi? Islam. Do you think that there are only two religions? सिर्फ दो ही religions होते हैं? No. कौन-कौन से होते हैं? Can you please think of it? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. अच्छा, Islam और Bible, Pakistan. अच्छा, ये तो books हैं. These are the name of the books. अच्छा. Pakistan. Okay, yes. America. अच्छा, अमेरिका भी होते हैं. Okay. ये तो countries के names नहीं हैं? Yes, countries. I think Lahore, sorry, Pakistan and America are the names of countries. Or Lahore is the name of city. Teacher? Chinese. Okay, Chinese. उनका कोई religion होता है? Yes. कौन सा हिंदू, वेरी गुड। कौन सा गॉड
बनाते हैं
वेरी गुड। अच्छा जी, सब किसकी इबादत करते हैं? गॉड की इबादत करते हैं ना, सब फॉलो करते हैं गॉड के रूल्स को।
Yes.
जो गॉड ने कहा है हम वो बात सुनते हैं।
Yes.
मुस्लिम्स भी सुनते हैं, और कौन सुनते हैं?
Christians.
सुनते हैं, सब सुनते हैं गॉड की बात को।
Yes.
वेरी गुड, वेरी नाइस। तो ये दोनों चीजें क्या हो गई? सब किसको फॉलो करते हैं?
God.
फॉलो करते हैं। वेरी गुड।